and that there's, you know, a decision maybe can be made in that conversation. I mean, that's really all I think the contractor has asked for. Right. You know, we represent you as any way you want us to. Okay. If you want us to attend that by ourselves, we can. You know, it might be best if the owner was there, you know, at least in body, in some form or fashion. So. Well,
you know, as you know, of course, I've read everything more than one time and stuff, and it looks to me like Harper has went above and beyond on certain areas that they didn't have to. And even though we could be kind of sticking the muds about this flush valve system, that maybe we need to just kind of come to an agreement, and whatever's fair, let's try to settle that, and so they can be paid. And sure. What do y'all think?
How do we determine what is fair?
I know, I don't know. I don't know either.
Well, I think Tom and Kyle will need to make a recommendation. That's how what should happen.
I concur. Okay. I mean, and I agree with you, Ms. Clawfelter. I think, I think honestly, tomorrow, if this was behind us, I think Les Williger and Harper, I mean, I think they're going to if Michael or Charles need them, they'll be there. I mean, that's just kind of their DNA.
Seems to be that from what I've heard from the staff out there and everybody, that anytime anything has been asked for, they come. I mean, they haven't abandoned us in any way. Am I right, Kyle? You know, I mean, that's what our reports have been. So I don't know, how do you judge what's fair? That would have to be people that didn't know.
And I think BWA has given us, you know, kind of insight about what they think it's worth. Yeah. And I think we kind of use that as our guide.
I've been I've only been here on the board for 18 months, and I've been very pleased with BWA because I've been very hard on at times, as I learned, and they, I think that y'all are very capable of.
I do think we need a representative.
I do too. No, I do agree with that. I think we need a representative.
I think you guys can determine who that is, but I think we need.
I agree. Yes, I agree. We need a representative, but I think that do you agree the architect and Harper should also be there too?
Oh, sure.
I think so too. So can we set
we're happy
that up?
We're happy to facilitate that.
Great.
Sure.
Okay. Sooner, and they're ready at any time, or y'all are ready? Will Harper be ready, do you think? Will they come to a sit down and be ready?
Oh, I know they will. Yeah, I'm sure they will.
Well, that's what I'm saying. But I mean, if it was me, I'd have been there yesterday. But
I mean, that's the thing. They're actively working.
Yeah.
At Fort Sill. I mean, you know, Colonel Curtis can speak to that, I'm sure. I didn't mean to put you on the spot, but I mean, that's kind of their culture, is to stay engaged with the client.
Well, from our reports from Kyle has come a couple times since you've been here, and everything has just been a total step forward. Every time it's been more's been done, we've got more accomplished, and everybody is real happy, and I think our staff's happy, and I'm ready to be done with this.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at it all, I mean, I think I came to you guys in August last year, and to look at, I mean, I know a year is a long time, but this is a gigantic project.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, I mean, any project of this size is going to have challenges, you know. So, and we wish you well on your next endeavors. And so, yeah, you're going to have things to work through. But I mean, 365 days later, we've got one issue left. Right. So, I think that speaks for all highly of the contractor. So,
I think so. And of y'all, I think that I've been just extremely pleased with y'all and what you have done for us. So, thank you.
Yeah, great. Anything else? Okay, we'll get that set up and we'll report back to Kyle. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Clarence, anything you'd like to add? You made the trip. If y'all don't know Clarence, Clarence is.
I know Clarence.
I think Clarence, you own the company, don't you?
Long time.
All right, yeah, since you came, I wanted to see if you had anything you want to share with
Clarence,
the board.
Well, okay, I want to get to the microphone.
I hate for you to drive all this way.
I'll show you I like driving. Jordan Hall, stand up. Okay, Jordan is a graduate in MacArthur. Okay, and is also a young brand. No, that's okay. Yeah, he's a brand new young architect. Okay, and graduated from MacArthur in 10. Yeah,
wow.
So, and is an exceptional young man. Okay, and he's from Lawton. So
I want to say you're Jason, that has represented you, has done you very proud. I mean, I have not been easy on him, let me tell you. There have been times that he's been frustrated with me, and he's always answered all my questions. If he couldn't, he got me a response real quick. So you should be very proud.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it very much. We enjoyed working with y'all. Thank you.
Thank you all for coming tonight. Appreciate it. board doesn't have any more questions or discussion on that?
No.
We'll move down to
Mr. Owens.
yes, for Mr. Rick Owens. He's going to give us an update regarding the ACT College Readiness Report.
Good evening. I'm assuming everybody has a copy of the ACT, and I'll just go over that right quick. In the first of the letter, it says these are the scores of the testing graduates. Make sure everyone understood that. And then the last below what that means is there's a 50% chance of a student making a B or higher if their students will rank most good scores at the level. For example, graduation 22 in algebra, 22 in science. That means that they'll have more success in college, okay? And then on page 2 of that report, you can see there that if the kids will increase the rigor in their classwork, for example, adding ACT score because the depth of knowledge is there. It's a in-depth curriculum before they get to the college level. And at the bottom of the ACT report, we do have collaborative partnerships with Cameron. I believe I reported last year greater than 600 graduates out of Cameron. Culture and climate, we've been really working on that hard this year because we know that culture and climate is a most important indicator for graduates, attendance, and achieving higher test scores. Increasing the rigor, as we discussed, trying to get the kids enrolled in more than one math course, more than what the requirements are. And we're starting now with the ICAP program, Individual Career Academic Plan. And we have 2 pilot groups, one at Lawton High School and one at MacArthur High School. And in 2 years, it's going to be required that all kids sign up on OK Career Guide. We've already got the 8th graders complete, and then we're working on the 6th graders this year. So we'll use that to help guide the kids into more rigorous coursework. Also, you have another page, 2, like that. And this one was put together by me because of this report. And I wanted to clarify some things for you. Now, the composite ACT scores, you can see Oklahoma was 19.4. And then that source there is ACT. So we're 10th out of the 17 states that require all kids to have the ACT. And then the regional, that's also an ACT resource over there, this map. That's where we fell there. But we took it a little further than that. If you'll look down at the graph or the table at the bottom, I wanted to make sure that our board and constituents understood that even though this is reported in ACT, I asked Mr. Irwin, he's our data person, to put together all the juniors that took the ACT. That was the law this year. They take the ACT test, not the seniors. So you can see there that their average was about 18.65, but they still have a year of school left. Our graduating seniors scored 20.55. So if you look at some of the articles that are written, and this came off of our school information system, if we have a student in there, that's their ACT score. Mr. Irwin got it, put it down, and come up with a combined average. And you can see by that first graph or table from our data system and compare it with the bottom table, which is the source there is the Educational Quality and Accountability. They run a year behind. So I wanted you to see that the district average in 2016 for graduates was 20.4, and for our seniors, the graduates in our school information system was 20.5. You see? So I wanted to make sure in this report that everyone understood, even though we get these reports and articles, when we went to our own database, we came up with this. Yes, sir.
I want to make sure I understand. So, Oklahoma, 100% of our, now 2 years ago, this is only the second year that all students, is this the report from the very first year all juniors took it, or is this the second report?
This, as it says, ACT tested graduates. This, the first column there, that sets the baseline for Oklahoma. The juniors, where it says 217, seniors and juniors, ACT required for all juniors. That's the first year last year. And they still have and a lot of these kids will take it again this year on their own, but our new juniors will be required to take it.
So did that account for the jump in the total tested for this year?
Total tested,
Because it shows.
according to this report.
Yes. Is that
Well-
because we included more juniors, or, I mean, because that's a huge increase.
We
from
started testing
540
everybody 2 years ago.
Exactly.
All juniors now take the test.
Okay, so that's what the jump was from.
The new law from the state is all juniors will be tested.
Okay.
Instead of like end of instruction test in Algebra
Right.
1, 2, now everyone's taking the ACT,
So that-
and our assessment department we've started heading toward that goal where we're preparing them for the ACT.
Okay.
And that's where my question was, to make sure everybody understand that before taking the ACT was an option. Now it's become a requirement. 2 years ago, it was a pilot. Last year, these scores reflect that. And the good thing is, as you can see, when we take all of our students, all of our juniors taking the test, and we're comparing them against other states where only a portion take the tests, who are already determined to be college ready, all of our students are competing very well against small portions of, some could argue, the elite students from other states. So that's what I was trying to, I'm very proud of our students.
And if I was reporting this to Dr. Deegan, this is all I would give him, because this is our kids, those two tables. Okay. And this was of last week. Okay?
We're not satisfied, but for everybody taking the test, this is a good baseline for us to start. So, thank you, Mr. Owens.
Thank you, Mr. Owens.
Thank you, Mr. Owens. Oh, I flipped over on the wrong page here. Give me a second. All right, our last, if the board doesn't have any more questions or comments over the ACT, our last will be, this is the time of the year we approve our budget. But under 5D, we have an information item, which is simple for Ms. Branstetter, and 5E is the budget. I'm just going to go ahead and let her report on both of them together. And if the board, I'm assuming the board doesn't have any question over the bond and sales tax reports, we'll let her just jump right into her budget, so.
Okay, I'll start with giving a quick update on this, as you said, the sales tax and the bond. As you can see on the first page of it, we're talking about the bond portions of it. This report here is an accumulation of everything from the beginning of it till it will be till the end of it, so that we can keep an update of where we started, what all projects we've completed, and what we have. So currently, to date, we have expended, this is as of August the 31st, we've expended $7.8 million. We still have $2.1 million that has been encumbered, which means those projects are started. You can kind of see those. Then what all has been planned, there's still $8.3 million planned in this year. At the bottom of it, on the next page, you can see how the money has come in. The bonds are sold in different increments over the life of it, over the 10 years. So currently, with the 2018 included, we will be at the $18 million mark. Less the expenses, less the encumbrances. At the end of the day, with all these projects that we have slated, and I'll go over a few more of them in the budget in a little bit more detail, we still have $53,000 left of this year's money. Okay, that includes the money that we're going to sell. The budget indicated that we were hoping to sell them in the spring, but I do believe we're going to up that and hopefully have them sold by Christmas. So that will keep everything moving quickly, okay? Then,
I'm going to ask you a question that I know the answer to, but I'm just going to ask you. How often do you give a bond and sales tax update to the board?
Once a month.
Once a month.
Once a month. It is also posted on the website. I did receive a new law yesterday from my colleagues that indicated that as effective, I believe, November 1st or November 11th, that it must be on your websites, on your bonds. So we are already ahead of the game. We've already been doing that for some time. I update it once a month, and so anybody can go see it on the website. Okay?
Indicated that we would up and move and probably sell our bond before Christmas?
Yes.
And do we think that'll be around Christmas, probably in December?
The special board meeting is set for October the 10th.
Oh, that's right.
October the 10th, and then he'll come back and we'll sell the middle of November to settle by hopefully December 14th.
Okay.
Okay?
Perfect.
All right, and then on the city sales tax, this one, again, comes in at about $2.5 million a year. You can see what we've expended so far to date, $2.9 million. We still have encumbered about $286,000. The windows are planned. They don't become encumbered until we actually take the bids and that sort of thing. Yes, we already know what we've got planned, which are the windows at Lawton High, MacArthur, and Douglas. So they won't move up until we actually take the bids. So that keeps it, so we kind of know what stage each of the projects are in at that point. So at the end of the day, we've kind of planned for the rest of the money moving into grounds and renovations and the fencing and that sort of thing. But those two numbers will kind of fluctuate once we get the bids, and we'll know exactly where we're at on that. But that means that we have expended all of the money that we anticipate getting in this year. So are there any questions in regard to the city sales tax and bonds reports? Okay. All right. That's that. All right. I'll set that. Very good. All right. If everybody's good, I'll move on into the budget then. I wanted to take a few minutes, since we do have a new board member, I did want to take a few extra minutes to kind of lay out how the whole budget book is laid out. So thought that might help her. Okay, so there, in different categories here, I have a budget overview, and I'll go over that here in a minute. Then there'll be a summary of all the different funds that we have. We'll highlight a couple of the major ones, the general fund, the levy, but it also has a recap of all 12 funds. The revenue section of it, if you want to turn over there to C, section C, revenue. And what that is, it has what we set a year ago also in the FY 16-17, what the original estimates were when we set the budget a year ago. Okay, then we move into the actual column, and it shows actually how much revenue in each one of the sources of revenue that we collected during the course of the year. And then finally, what we are projecting to set the revenue for this year. Okay, so in the general fund on C2, you can see that we set the original budget a year ago at $124 million. What was actually collected was $124,879, so it didn't fluctuate all that much. We had a few ups and downs in it, but all in all, it was pretty stable through the year. So this year, we are going to set the revenue budget at $127 million. The only difference in there, if you went through there and looked at them all, they are all pretty much revenue neutral. The only difference is that our carryover changed from a year ago, 2 years ago, really, that moves into last year at $12.4 million, and when we closed last year, we closed at $16 million. That's the major difference in all of this. I don't see anything. I will point out that our state aid did go down, as I predicted, due to our enrollment, and again, I want to remind everyone that it will also do that again next year due to our enrollment. You get to keep your high for 2 years, and once our enrollment has continued to drop, our state aid will drop again next year. Okay, just wanted to remind everybody of that. Okay, and I won't go through all of the revenue sections. So the next section, which is the budget actual part of it, again, it has what the budgets were in each of the individual categories. It'll have the administrative services, the instructional instructional services, the different grants that we have, all the programs that the district has, your extended time, the classroom resources that we gave a year ago, the UVA, all of those. It lists each one of them individually so that you can see what we originally set the budgets, what we final budgets were, what our expenses were, and then what we anticipate the budgets being in each of those this year. Again, not very many of them changing. I would say that even the salary one came in much lower last year. Again, we continue to budget ahead, so we're trying to stay ahead of the curve so that we always have the money available, as we promised, that Dr. Deegan wanted us to budget the money for next year also. Okay, so we're trying to stay ahead of the curve there. Again, you can see that. I won't go through all of those. And then on the back of it, it has the allocation parts of it. That one will tell you a little bit more about the individual categories, such as the district operations. It'll tell you what our water, electric, gas, those sorts of things, what the budget is for the administrative services, our building allocations, the business services, how much the budget for the salaries and benefits for the district are going to be, your educational services. So it gives a very in-depth what exactly each one of those categories are going to be budgeted, okay? And then finally, also in there, you'll also see on page E4, you'll actually see the amount based by each individual school. We give them about $30 based on the last year's end of the year enrollment, how much we're giving each one of the schools and their building allocations, okay? Okay, so what I'm going to do next is give you a little bit of an overview, and then we'll finalize with the numbers. Let me get back over there. I will say that generally speaking, it takes about, we begin on July 1st, obviously, to set this budget. It usually takes me about 2 months to get it all done. You can see each one of those project numbers. There's a little bit over 100 of them in the general fund, and then there are 12 other funds. So it does take some time to gather all that information. We don't get all of the information from the county, the state, local, those sorts of things, so it does take a little bit of time to gather it. I wish that we could get it to you in July, but it's a lot of preparing to get it for you. It is due to the state by October 1st every year, so we're in good shape on that. Yes?
Help you a little bit on that. The state doesn't actually give us our allocations sometimes till the end of July, and so then we have to take that and plug it all in. So getting this done in 6 weeks is a pretty big feat. Right.
The county, I didn't get the county until near the first or second week of August. I didn't get the ad valorem.
Diane has been very, just a genius about being able to, in the spring or even early winter, being able to predict where the next year's revenues and she's just done an incredible job with that. So it's not something we put together after July. I just want to break it. The process
takes a long time.
Well, the process for next year will begin probably in November.
Right. Okay, let me just bring a recap of how we closed last year real quickly. The district estimated the budget to be at about $124 million. We actually collected about $124 million. Wasn't much of an increase, only about $679,000 increase overall. Our state aid did take a cut last year of $972,000 during that year, but there was a return of $593,000 from the prior year. So it didn't appear as though it only netted $379,000, but we did still take a cut of $972,000, but they gave us back a little bit. For the second year in a row, the motor vehicle was down about $637,000. I think it's going to stabilize a little bit. I've kind of kept an eye on it a little bit, so I'm hoping that it's going to finally stabilize for us. The expenditures were projected at $117 million, leaving a revenue shortfall of 6.3. That's what it was when we set it a year ago. When we ended, obviously we ended up with a $16 million carryover, which I thought was pretty awesome, which was really preparing us for this year and for the following year. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about FY18. This budget forecasts a total of $127,440,304, which is up about $3 million. Again, the biggest increase is due to our carryover, nothing else. The projected expenditures, and let's move on to page B2. I wanted you to see that kind of broken down. The expenditures there in the middle, it'll tell you that we are projecting the salaries at $76,922,000, the benefits at $24,832,000, and the non-salary at $17,731,000. You see that over on the far right there that the salaries are ending up at about 64% and the benefits at 20%. So that's roughly about 85% of our budget goes to the salaries. That's a good place to be. We had gotten pretty close to the 90% mark. So again, we have done an awesome job tailoring it back a little bit and getting it back into a more stable position on the salary side of it all. On the revenue, I wanted to point that out to you too. It gives a little bit of a breakdown as to how we get that money. You can see that 28% of it comes from the ad valorem and local. 54% of it comes from the state. And I will say that years ago, you know, state aid used to be a given. It was stable. Whatever, the number you got on that piece of paper is what you got. Now it is a moving target just like everything else. So you must keep an eye on it all the time. Career Tech's only about 0.2. We don't get much from the Career Tech anymore. And our federal grants are going to be at 17% of our budget. All in all, with the revenue coming in at $127 million, our expenditures predicted to be $119 million. That will, currently, our revenue shortfall account has $8.4 million. So I think that's a good place to be with all in all. All right, let's move back to page B2. And in closing, I'll give a little update on each of them. B1, excuse me. B1. So for the FY17 school year, the general funds budget will be set at $127,440,304. We will not have a co-op this year. That was moved back into the general fund. Our co-op partner elected not to participate, so we were able to move it back into the general fund. The building levy kind of stabilized back now because Freedom is not in there anymore, other than the reserve that we have in it, at $3.9 million. The old city sales tax, the 2010, has a balance of $317,000, and again, that is set aside for Freedom. The 2015 city sales tax has a budget at $5.5 million. The 2004 bond, the remaining portion of it, but again, we have projects set aside of that $2.7 million. In that one, let me find that. Where was it? Here we go. The projects that we have slated to use that money for are going to be Carriage Hills, Tomlinson, Lawton High, along with the MacArthur High School cafeteria remodel. So, all right, the 2014 bond, that budget will be set at $11 million, and those projects, they're in the overview there. The HVAC at MacArthur Middle, Woodland Hills, Lincoln and Adams, the roof at Adams and Edison, they are all slated to begin as quickly as we can get those bonds sold. Okay. The sinking fund, which is obviously the fund in which we pay off our debts, that budget is set at $5 million. The endowment fund that houses endowments from various donors that we then give scholarships at the end of the year, that one is set at $47,000. The activity fund budget is set at $4.6. The gifts, again, those are for scholarships. They come in and go back out at $13,000. And then our old workers' comp fund, the budget is set at $45,000 for a total of $161,274,443 for FY18. Any questions?
Thank you for all the hard work you put into this and being able to present it to us like this. Amazing.
I've enjoyed it, and,
Appreciate the summary.
okay, thank you.
So we have a motion.
To approve the budget.
Accept the budget.
Thank you, Ms. Branstetter.
Second.
Who made the motion?
And the second? Ms. Nyworth?
Yes.
Dr. Bridges?
Yes.
Mr. Jester?
Yes.
Ms. Edwards?
Yes.
Ms. Clodfelter?
Yes.
Okay. Dr. Deegan, your report?
Okay, on the superintendent report, I only have 2 items. One is just a discussion, and this has come from different discussions from individual board members and also over the past. And that's the discussion as we move into this bond. We're wrapping up a major project, Freedom Elementary School. We're looking at the possibility of another major project, Eisenhower Middle School, plus the addition of several safe rooms. There are 2 or 3 models that districts can go with. Architect model solely, which is what we've used here. But there are also other models that include the district procuring the services of a construction manager. Construction manager is a representative for the district that helps throughout the process. They're paid on a percentage or contingency fee based on what the overall cost of. And what they do is they kind of watchdog the whole process. And I've thought it would be worth us discussing as a board and me hearing your thoughts. The way I see how our options were, it's different ways, different, there are even some legal terms involved, but I'd really like to hear from the board. A, would we like to pursue it? Like to maybe think about looking at that as an option, at least consider it as we move forward. We won't be starting any construction for the projects until, groundbreaking at the earliest would be February, January, if the bond passes. But there are several different ways to look at this, hiring a complete outside firm that what they do is on a percentage basis overlook individual projects similar to architects. Another option is to hire a person that has a degree in construction management that overlooks projects as they move forward. Could be anything from architect to they have actual degrees from colleges in construction management. And another would be even a hybrid opportunity where it's a longer-term relationship with a company or a firm to help manage not only those projects that are in this bond, but other projects. We're always doing roofs, HVAC projects. There's always something going on in the district. And so based on them, I just wanted to kind of outline the framework for discussion. I'd just like to hear from board members. What are your thoughts, recommendations? This is a non-action item, but we're just discussing, so it's time for you all to talk.
Well, I don't think it's realistic for us to think that one person that's already employed at the district can oversee multiple construction projects at one time.
Even to be at a multi-million-dollar project.
Well, even
24/7.
one, but especially if we're going to be doing multi-construction projects at one time. And Ms. Clodfelter and Dr. Deegan and I were at the OSSBA convention, and we sat in on it, and most of the large projects, they do use some type of construction manager.
Right.
I'm not married to any of those different
I'm not either.
specific ideas at this point, but I definitely think it's something that we need to look into before we start any construction.
We've used construction managers before, and it's worked out very well for us compared to the other scenario. So I'm in favor of definitely looking at it.
And it does cost, but the idea is
It's worth it, but it
that,
saves you in the end.
there you go.
But there's things but we also want to be careful when we do something like that. We don't want all the subcontractors to fall under us, to where that we're having to see all of their change orders, all of the things where they can all come to us. We want that to fall under this construction management company. And I think that's what that one model we saw, wasn't that how that worked, wasn't it?
Right.
I mean, we want to be I think that when we do something, we need to really look at all the things that can go wrong and all the things that can go right on every scenario. So I'm very much for it.
Lori, the situation you're referencing, is that a district similar in size to us, that, or is that like the norm in districts our size?
In all fairness, it was a little tiny district.
Oh, it really
Okay.
was, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But major districts use
How big was that district that, where he was
I had about
from?
280 students.
Yeah.
That's where I started teaching. No, no relationship, just a coincidence.
Yeah, just,
How you met.
Yeah, but the big districts use construction managers.
Exactly.
All the
I think
time.
so.
But I mean, you're able
It's
to
just
see
the
things
smart.
ahead of time sometimes. and-
Like the flush valve problem.
Exactly.
That would have been caught when they should have done
exactly,
it.
exactly.
But now they don't want to tear the walls up and do it right.
They have those mechanical degrees, and they know all of those type of things that can go wrong. They know when to stop something, they know how to do a log, you know, they know all of the ins and outs, things that,
I definitely think it's something.
I
we
do, I
Look
just,
into.
If we're going to use lawnmower, in this particular case, we're going to have multiple projects going at the same time. We're probably going to need to look into a firm that has several representatives.
Multiple resources.
and to see how much the percentage is, I mean, there's going to be obviously more than one firm, but we also need to do our homework on that, I think, too.
Well, and
How do you
you
feel,
may-
Kent? You're the one not really saying anything. Us women are all for it. How do you feel?
I just I would say that I think we're going to need a firm that's got enough resources to handle multiple
But I mean,
projects.
but do you agree with going with the construction management? How do you feel about it?
No, I think Central was a prime example of how it can really be a good thing.
Okay.
So, yeah, I'm for it. I'm not against
But
it.
we also have a whole area of Central that didn't get the sheet rock put up, so,
I didn't know about that.
yeah.
I think that was a budget shortfall,
It was a
not
budget deal, yeah, we couldn't
not
pay for it.
not a failure of construction.
But, and we could hire a firm to watch the major project and then someone else to do all the district.
I mean, there's a
the
lot of
rest the
different
district. I mean,
scenarios,
it's
but-
what you all
Right.
research and decide. Bring
And let me go ahead and some, Ms. Kaufman, on that room, there's a room above the main gym in Central that is used now as a wrestling room. And it was never finished out. That was tentatively scheduled or supposed to be classrooms. But since the building's been built, it's been used as a wrestling room. So,
But
but it
still,
is
somebody,
room.
and I'm,
I don't know
not
the entire
necessarily, I know what happened at the time, and, I mean, I know the firm that was there, and it was forgotten.
I just want anybody wondering that we had rooms without sheetrock. It's been, it's a big open space
It was a
that
big
they used
open
to
space.
practice wrestling in. So.
But all the sheet rock was there, it just never. it was
Teachers
still
are
stacked.
resourceful. They will take over any space, I'm telling you.
I do think that the public would probably be comfortable knowing that there's somebody appointed outside of the district to oversee the projects as well.
The answer is
I don't
no.
think the community cares.
So I hear, and I'm doing better about takeaways. Brenda Hatch and Dr. Polk have been training me well. Here's what I've heard so far is district wants to make sure, the board members individually would like to make sure, of course, we've done this in the past, make sure, one thing, we want to make sure the subcontractors are not under our day-to-day.
Yes.
We want them answering to somebody else.
Right.
A firm with multiple resources, we need to be very considerate of the cost and percentages, and not necessarily, I didn't hear a consensus on what model, but we want to be able to look at different models and and different options that may work for the district. Did I miss anything that I'd heard comments?
I don't think so.
Okay, so we will move forward. What I'm thinking at the moment, based on this information, is considering drafting an RFP, something that we could look at in the future.
But when we do that, I mean, if we come down to it and we decide, for whatever reason, I don't think we would, if we would decide for whatever reason that we don't want to go with that we want to go another route, again, I don't think that will happen, will we be able to?
Oh, yeah, till we voted.
There's no
Not done.
action on
Okay.
this.
We can always,
It's just a
yeah, the
discussion.
board can always keep
No,
moving.
it's just a request for proposal, it doesn't bind you.
Okay.
And we'll write this one in such a way to ensure that people have a maximum flexibility to present us as many options. That way the board can,
Okay.
we'll make it
Perfect.
clear. The idea of a request for proposals, we don't know exactly what people can offer us, so they're supposed to put their best game on the table, and we get to pick which one fits our needs best.
Well, what I've heard from as our community as we get out and around, our local contractors our mechanical contractors, our plumbing contractors are very interested in wanting to work with our school, and will something like this will that will allow them to be able to bid in on something?
They always have the allowance to bid in. They do always. And of course, local vendors get a 5% advantage. So we're always encouraged. And we started this year, and Sheila Ralph in our purchasing department did a great job. She's not here today, and not in this room.
Oh.
But she did a great job. I always nod toward the office.
Well, I know them for, always
But
will.
she did a great job. We had a vendors meeting. We invited anybody in locally to come in. We went over the bid process. We actually asked them to look at bid sheets, those sorts of things. It's something we're going to start doing annually because we want to keep a good relationship with our local vendors. We did have several show up, and we got a lot of good information from them.
Well, I mean, I've gotten some calls from vendors since it's come out that we're doing this, you know, and they're like, is there some way that we can have a meeting like that? So that's exciting to think to be able to tell them yes.
Okay, well, we will get to work on that. I appreciate it. Any more thoughts on that? All right. I just have a couple quick announcements, if I can find them. There we go. MacArthur High School. Brandon Lawton has been named semifinalist for the 63rd Annual National Merit Scholarship Program. So there's MacArthur High. We'll be in competition for that. And I don't know if everybody noticed, of course, Miss Charlotte Oates was not here today because she was hosting our superintendent, state superintendent, Joy Hoffmeister, in a live contest.
Podcast. Facebook Live.
Podcast.
Podcast on Facebook.
Go back and watch it.
I don't know what the term is. Yes, it's something on the interweb.
And
There you
she's
go.
on her way to Oklahoma City to the awards banquet.
Yes, and that Dr. Polk is on her, that's where Dr. Polk is tonight, at the, representing the district with Miss Oates and her staff. So we're very proud for being National School of the Year, School of Character, not School of the Year, just National School of Character. Also want to mention that for board members, an announcement, the Bond Oversight Committee, we had a meeting, our last meeting, we designated that before the November meeting, we wanted to meet and establish, consider new members to be on the Bond Oversight Committee. In addition to that, to establish a static list. We've operated the last couple of years with a list of men and women who, and it came down to a core group of men and women of about 12 that would regularly show, but we want to really get that down to a specific list. And so that meeting will be next Tuesday morning at 8 a.m. It's a Bond Oversight Committee, and I just want to make sure if the board members wanted to attend, you're welcome to attend and hear what they have to say.
Everything have to happen in September?
Yes, I guess it does. But that gives us a little time to vet out the members that we discuss inviting. Ultimately, the board will approve the members, et cetera. So,
When is that?
Tuesday morning at 8 a.m. right here.
Tuesday at 8.
The 26th, is that next Tuesday?
Yes.
Yes, it is. Okay. I have completely lost track of time lately. I don't know what day it is, et cetera. Any other, that's all the announcements I have. So that concludes my report.
Okay. Does anyone have anything they need removed from the consent agenda?
Yes, I'd like section
7F1 removed. That's the sanctioning, which I had a part in doing, and I'd like to vote on that separate.
Okay.
And I would like to request that we remove item 7F2A, which is the contract with AIP for the renovation of MacArthur High School cafeteria.
We're removing that? Oh, okay.
Okay. So,
I move that we approve the remainder of the consent agenda.
A second.
call the roll.
Ms. Nyworth?
Yes.
Dr. Bridges?
Yes.
Mr. Jester?
Yes.
Ms. Edwards?
Yes.
Ms. Clodfelter?
Yes.
Now we need a motion to accept the 7F1.
Make a motion, we accept 7F1.
I second.
Okay, call the roll, please.
Ms. Clodfelter?
Yes.
Ms. Nyworth?
Abstain?
Dr. Bridges?
Yes.
Mr. Jester?
Yes.
Ms. Edwards?
Yes.
Very good.
You want me to explain a little bit? On 7F2? I asked the board to remove 7F2A, not because I have any concerns about it, but I wanted to make sure the board understood maybe the significance of this. In January of 2017, the board, we had a presentation to the board, and at that time, we had still needed to complete, and this is leftover projects from the 2004 bond, John Adams roof, John Adams HVAC, Lincoln HVAC, Woodland Hills, Eisenhower Middle School, MacArthur Middle School. John Adams needed a roof, Carriage Hills a roof, Edison a roof, Tomlinson, Lawton High, they all needed roofs. At this point, every single one of those projects is either ready to bid which will happen very soon, we're going to sell the bonds on October 10th, or are getting wrapped up with the architect. That means, and it was very important for the board, and I have to applaud the board, have caught up on virtually every major project from the 2004 bond. What we have before us today is the MacArthur High School auditorium, which was also one of the projects. Cafeteria. I get the auditorium. We'll have that on our next bond proposal. Yes.
This is the
cafeteria, which was something that had been kind of, hadn't been done. No, but approving that contract tonight is significant because that really does mark the end, the completion of all major projects. Now, they're not going to be built by the time we vote on our next bond proposal, but they'll all be encumbered, committed, and ready for bid, if not bid already. And so I think that's significant. This project, because of the bid process, we do not expect to actually be ready for bid until early spring, but the rest of them will be wrapped up very soon with a bow on them, and I want to give the board high praise for that. And so I do recommend this. I just wanted to pull it out and talk about it a little bit.
Okay. And as soon as Carriage Hill roof's done, I would like a personal tour.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, do we have a motion?
I make a motion we approve 7F to A.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Ms. Clodfelter?
Yes.
Ms. Nyworth?
Yes.
Dr. Bridges?
Yes.
Mr. Jester?
Yes.
Ms. Edwards?
Yes.
Okay, do we have an executive session? Well,
Yes,
sorry,
we do.
an error just occurred here.
We do need an executive session.
Okay,
Make a motion, we move into executive session?
Second.
call the roll.
Ms. Clodfelter?
Yes.
Ms. Nyworth?
Yes.
Dr. Bridges?
Yes.
Mr. Jester?
Yes.
Ms. Edwards?
Yes.
return from executive session.
Second.
Call the roll.
Ms. Nyworth?
Yes.
Dr. Bridges?
Yes.
Mr. Jester?
Yes.
Ms. Edwards?
Yes.
Ms. Clodfelter?
Yes.
Okay, the statement of executive session. The Board of Education went into executive session at 6:07 PM. Members present included Dr. Lori Bridges, President, Kent Jester, Vice President, Carla Clodfelter, Member, Patty Nyworth, Member, and Kelly Edwards, Member. Others present included Dr. Tom Deegan, Superintendent. Items discussed included the employing, promoting, or receiving resignation of individual certified and support salaried personnel so the board can return to open session and vote to take action on personnel transactions as listed on the certified and support personnel reports. B, the selection of information technology director, and C, the selection of elementary principal. During the executive session, the board discussed these items and no other items, and no action was taken. The board returned to open session at 6:16 PM, and this constitutes the minutes of executive session. Okay.
Under item 12 on my superintendent's report, we have item 12A, which is the approval of certified and support personnel reports.
Make a motion to approve. Second.
Dr. Bridges?
Yes.
Mr. Jester?
Yes.
Ms. Edwards?
Yes.
Ms. Clodfelter?
Yes.
Ms. Nyworth?
Yes.
Under item 12B, we have the approval of selection for information technology director, and for that position, I would like to recommend Mr. A.J. Watson.
Move for approval.
Second.
Call the roll.
Ms. Nyworth?
Yes.
Dr. Bridges?
Yes.
Mr. Jester?
Yes.
Ms. Edwards?
Yes.
Ms. Clodfelter?
Yes.
And for item 12C, approval selection of elementary principal, and for that position, I would like to recommend Ms. Stephanie Bowman.
Make a motion we approve.
Second.
Call the roll.
Ms. Clodfelter?
Yes.
Ms. Nyworth?
Yes.
Dr. Bridges?
Yes.
Mr. Jester?
Yes.
Ms. Edwards?
Yes.
I guess we did good. We had miles of.
Before I made a motion, I looked. I was looking.
Did you get everyone's vote? Yes? Okay. All right. Do we have any new business?
No new business.
Okay. Next regular board meeting will be, yeah.
Before we adjourn, just something.
Yeah, board announcements.
Okay, all right.
Okay, all right. The next regular board meeting will be Monday, October 16th at 5 PM here at Shoemaker. Special meeting dates for the,
We do need to send one at October 10th at
October
noon
10th.
for the sale of bonds.
Okay.
In addition to that, for a very brief presentation, if everybody has time, I have Dr. Joe Ciano, former superintendent of Norman Public Schools, would like to share his thoughts with the board. If you-
oh, at that time?
Yep.
October 10th.
Okay. Now, Ms. Clodfelter.
I just want to say that I work at the Cancer Center, and if you haven't heard about it, you must have been asleep, but we're having Spirit of Survival at the end of the month. Now, what I have to say about that is that our media center stepped up to the plate to print log sheets for all of our children here, and I mean, if we changed our order, they were on it on a dime. I am so pleased and just over the moon with the response and how well they did, and our media center's top notch. I just want everybody to know that.
All right. Mr. Jester.
I make a motion for adjournment.
I second.
Call the roll, please.
It's tradition.
Ms. Nyworth?
Yes.
Dr. Bridges?
Yes.
Mr. Jester?
Yes.
Mrs. Edwards?
Yes.
Ms. Clodfelter?
Yes.
So as soon as we assign the stuff, I'll be in.
Yep. And that'll be good.
Okay.